Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to EU4 again. To something different once again. You might notice this is not the normal uh, date selection, start selection, blah blah blah. It's not the normal buttons that you have in the top left corner, and the recommended nations is only one, that of not Byzantium, but Basilia Romanian. And yeah, you can skin me for that all you want. And that is because we are not playing base. We are playing possibly my favorite mod of all time. This is something I've played for on and off for over almost a decade. The third Odyssey. Now, what is the third Odyssey? I hear you asking. Well, this is the third Odyssey. It is somebody's crack of saying, what if the Byzantine emperor picked up all of his stuff and set sail for the New World on basically a hope and a prayer to survive? So I will do a little bit of reading because it starts a little bit narrative and then it gets into the very interesting stuff. But do not worry, there's not really anything to do in the setup. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Editor Brown Dog here. While going through this and playing this first part of the mod, I read literally all of the flavor text. And if I was to try and edit that down while maintaining the story, I would have had about 4 hours of footage. As such, I don't want to waste all of that reading I did because by the end of the day, my throat was killing me. I'm going to make two versions of this video. The one that you're seeing now is going to be the normal cut down version with a lot of the flavor text skipped over. And later, as I have time, I would like to make a director's cut, which would be a multi-hour, like two plus hours, maybe 3 hours of footage, where I really read through and do all the same gameplay choices. So if that is something that interests you, and maybe for 500 subs, we'll do something like that. I just wanted to jump in here so that if you find this episode very cut happy, that is why. Anyway, please enjoy the video, and Editor Brown Dog 2 out. The other three brothers will have to stay behind, and this gives us a bunch of negatives, unrest. We get no mana generation. Basically, we are abandoning the country. Now we get pop-ups about things that we will be taking with us. So first is the books and fire. So, just taking the knowledge of an empire and Greek fire. Then there's the silk of the empire. Then for the Mauryan despot, which, is this little area, this Laconian area down below, we have the option to either grant it independence, which will give us a stability, 75 ducats, and make it, its own thing. We could release it to the Genoese or to the Venetians. I think I will sell the province to the Venetians. Normally, the stability and the ducats really does call out to me, but I believe the Venetians will give us a ship and supplies, which will take the form of developments, and I also believe the Venetians have a chance to actually hold the Ottomans off better than the Genoese. Oh, the Genoese would be in the HRE, but that's either way. The Venetians have a chance. Then there are the Venetian captains. So, with all of our goods collected and knowing what we can and cannot take, we're given a choice, the final checklist. So, we could bring, the Greek fire, the fancy scrolls, the fancy silk, and the captains, but we would basically have no ship left, or no space left on the ship for food. I believe that I will probably leave behind the Greek fire, just so we have scarce supplies, but still an amount. We will take the books with us, just because, that will... All of these have consequences later down the line if you bring them. Greek fire gives you custom units that kind of fall off in the mid-game once you actually start using gunpowder, from what I understand. They're very expensive. They're fun to use. They're just different. The books give you a major tech boost and lets you found a new Library of Alexandria. The silk makes a stupid amount of money. You're basically obligated to bring it. And the Venetians, they give us an early burgher's estate and also basically just help us with loans. And they let us build a Venetian ship. But yeah, so we're gonna set sail with the books, the silk, and the Venetians. Oh yes, we get one final choice. We have the rebel and the exile. We will take Skanderberg with us. Again, the consequences of these, we end up with a Greek minority, we end up with an Albanian minority that does a little bit of colonization with us and then gets integrated. And if we take the Turk, we get, what's it called? We get access to the Janissary system. But I like the early game benefit of Skanderberg. We have now set off from Constantinople and are somewhere near Granada. The Granadan pirates, we will pay for safe passage. It costs 50 ducats. It's reduced because we have a Venetian merchant. The Portuguese wish to strike a deal. We have finally passed through the Pillars of Heracles, also known as the Strait of Gibraltar. For the sake of keeping the New World to myself for as long as possible, I am going to lie to the Portuguese and tell them that we are going to Greenland. Now you can see as we travel, you get a rough approximation of the trip. But you see as we carry on into the empty Atlantic, because there's nothing out here, right? Nothing is on the other side of the ocean. When the storm hit, the admiral was on, and we could either have the royal ship be hit, which the royal family would not be on, but it would kill an artist, and our heir would lose 2 mana points, or we could lose a settler ship and the corresponding base tax and manpower it is worth. Considering how important mana is, I am going to lose a supply ship, which is unfortunate, but we will eventually recover. On top of the losing a ship, a great catastrophe has occurred. So we have a new Silius, who is significantly better than his now dead brother. Instead of being a 0/0/0, we have a 6/3/5. But, oh my, what's this? We found land in a very inconspicuous place, and that definitely doesn't resemble wherever the District of Columbia would be? No way. What do you mean, Chesapeake Bay? So we get a flagship named the Agoethioke, which I don't know exactly what it is, but it's underperforming. We gain a bit of tax, we gain 2 regiments, we gain a bit of manpower, we lose a bit of manpower. We get we get a mess of benefits and downsides, but hey, at least we have a flagship that is not great. No, not great at all. But hey, at least it's cheap to run. Yeah, it's cheap to run. That's the least thing. And we get vision. And yes, as you can see, we've ended up, I believe, forgive me, this is Maryland. We're right between Delaware and Maryland. I'm not perfect with the East Coast states, but we have a handful of things open up. Of course, we have a very healthy mission tree, and yeah, it's truly wonderful. We have strong government interactions and plenty more to read about, so I shall keep going. What is your tribe called? He finally asked us. We are the Empire of the Romans, and we get positive relationships, and yes, we cannot actually do humiliate rival CB until we complete Roman diplomacy, and we get overburdened administration in 3 days. What is overburdened administration? Well, with an ongoing struggle to establish a functioning state in the New World, our administration has quickly become overburdened with the numerous tasks required for expansion. Infrastructure has to be built, new laws created, armies raised, and maintained, and administrative systems set up to manage the growing population. If not careful, we might soon find ourselves losing control of the lands beyond Nea Constantinopolis, as the magnitude of due responsibilities varies the state bureaucracy. So this opens up a fun minigame where we have administrative burden. It's like corruption on steroids. Anything you do ups it. And obviously it has negative modifiers. more construction time, worse port speed, gaining monthly autonomy, a very severe administrative efficiency, and extreme colony cost modifier. You have things where like we can bolster the colonial office, which will give us a major increase by standards of the early game to global settler increase, but that would cost 15 administrative burden and put us up to 45. There's a mission down the line where we want to have as little administrative burden as possible, or our corruption will spike. There's also another thing where some of our missions are on a time constraint. To complete a true nation, it can only be completed as soon as 1520. That number of 1520 can be reduced by 5 years for every other mission completed, including expand our lands, Roman diplomacy, parabellum, secured the bay, Appalachian aqueducts, and infrastructure products. So that is, just for reference, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And some of these are not difficult to do, but expensive to do, such as owning 12 buildings in the Elysia area, which is, building up essentially all of these buildings with everything good. Now, they also have very good payouts, for example, infrastructure buildings. As a reward for doing that, we get wine RGO, iron RGO, dye RGO, naval supplies RGO instead of whatever was rolled here. So it is worth the effort. And more importantly, completing a true nation will actually give us progress. So this is our first real goal, and this is the stabilizing things to do. And then we get to actually move into building up a nation. And further down, you can even choose what kind of nation you want to be. Do we want to be in New America? Do we want to go back and be Rome? Do we want to be Britain? Is very much simplifying it. But you get, you can see where this comes from. And along the way, we will find friends and interesting other paths and the consequences of our choices. I'm going to select native repression policy. They can't uprise, and I need the global settler increase. And by the time they can uprise, I should be able to keep it down. And yes, we will essentially work with them to integrate them into our lands. We, of course, as a nation, are burning through money, salvaging the fleet. Thanks to the skills of the Venetian captains and shipwrights, we have emerged from the storm mostly unscathed. Only a couple of transport ships were too badly damaged to be repaired, and so they were ordered to be broken up. The only question remaining is what the wood from the ships should be used for. Should we use the materials to construct basic infrastructure and housing, or could we use it to construct a wooden keep and a basic palisade around our landing site? So we could break down the ships and get 2 base tacks. We could build a cheap castle it'd be cheap for 50 years. Or we get 200 population in our new colony, which that would speed it up by roughly a year. And, also wonderful, I just noticed, so there's a couple things here. Our capital, Elysia, isn't actually producing anything. It doesn't have a good. That's concerning. As well, we also have, you can see the Albanian quarter, which gives a mild amount of local unrest and makes everything more expensive. This is fine. It's just something to be aware of. I will give myself a castle. It's going to make things a little bit more expensive, but hopefully it will deter people around us. We also start bordering a good deal of nations, the Piscataway, the Padawan, and the Lenape. We are a kind and understanding people, so we're immediately going to rival them both. Because one of our early goals is to own the land the Padawan is on. And there is a nice, peaceful way that we could do this. But we are the Romans. And that is all I will say. I will have to build up my manpower, or my army reserves. I can see the AI already building. The other concern, of course, by building up my reserves is that even building units increases my burden here. You can see we're passively we're passively gaining just due to the base and the fact we have an active colony. And every time that I build a unit, it ticks up by a whole 1, which is just what we need. Building a building triggers it, everything triggers it. It's just a really enjoyable mechanic. The other notable thing is you can see that we have a end node in the Bay of Elysia, Chesapeake Bay. This is one of the reasons why you can get so strong. We're just going to slap a trader on there to get a bonus collect from trade and send some stuff over. Technically, some European trade does leak out over here. I believe it steals from Lisbon or Sevilla. Also, we do get the clergy estate re-enabled. So this will enable the clergy estate because currently all of our estates have been turned off besides the clergy. This will also set our Orthodox patriarchal authority to 50%. We can't institute any because we need to have passed a thing for that. Remember, the entire country is basically broken. The only thing that I'm going to do here is make sure that the clergy doesn't get pissed off, as for no specific reason we might end up doing something different. Now, to cope with the administrative burden, we can do things like empowering the estates, which will make all of our estates more loyal and give them a lot more influence and take it down. It does also mean, though, for the 10 years while this is active, you can't seize land. So you do want to make sure you don't immediately give it all out. And we've got the event Organize the Masses. This is just talking about how we are starting to, organize and what we want to direct in Elysia. Of course, we're going to put it towards production, as production is, even though we're not producing anything, I promise you it will turn out in the long run. So yeah, we're going to empower our clergy state, which technically makes them more powerful and means we can't seize land, but it should help to moderate our administrative burden. And we also have the militia matters, which is just describing where we want to assign the militia. We will, of course, gain more base production in Elysia, as base tax isn't really, we're not making anything off of production, but we don't need to make anything off production at the moment. And if you're wondering why I'm not spending my admin to go and actually dev Elysia so I can at least make money off of base tax, that's because the mod has disabled my ability to increase base tax until the Renaissance is present in my lands. And if you're wondering, wait a second, you left Europe before the Renaissance spawned. That's right. That's why it sucks. Because we don't get the Renaissance the traditional way. We will, we're getting there. Also, thanks to bringing the Venetians along, they have decided that we will, or that they will come together and act as a de facto merchant estate for us. Normally, you can't get the merchant estate until you, actually complete the merchant class. So what this lets us do is place trade posts, and will give us some good economic bonuses. Now, another important thing, obviously, we are suffering from a myriad of debuffs, such as lack of supplies, which gives us minus 10% to morale of armies, manpower shortages, which makes just everything more expensive, or stranded religion, which makes our missionary strength weaker, our tolerance to the true faith weaker, our missionary strength versus heretics weaker, and less patriarch authority, and we are considered exiled, which means that we get a plus 25% to tech cost, institution embracement cost, institution spread, and cavalry to infantry ratio. Essentially, it's just all worse. And, of course, eventually, we will find a way to circumvent these, but it's not great. The apostate. Georgius Geminius Plethon was a brilliant mind, held in high esteem by the Basilius. This apostate Neoplatonist is popular enough and held in high enough imperial esteem to where arresting him would be unwise. In addition, he's sure to die anyway within a few years of natural causes and his extreme age, but he is still dangerous and should be watched. Hopefully he won't cause too much damage. So this guy is going to, of course, spike the cost of our stability, tank our religious unity, give us a monthly admin power bonus, and undermine the yearly patriarch authority, and enable the Elysian religious wars disaster, which means we want to try and toe the line between our Platonist and Orthodox communities. Otherwise, we will have essentially a 30 years war between Hellenes and Orthodoxy. Just before he takes power, though, I am going to click up the 2-stab just so that I'm not paying the extra. And immediately we are thrown into the Elysian religious wars. I'm going to do my best just to toe the line, although it does tick up quite quickly. We just have to make it to 1468, 20 years without it firing. We get the visitors from the north. So, yeah, we've apparently found some form of Vinland. There's the 2 colonies of Helluland and Markland. When our diplomats were finally received by their leaders, they were given 2 trade propositions. One with the most northern of the colonies, called Helluland, promising a stable source of naval materials for their ongoing naval operations, and with the other, the southern, Markland, that proposed instead a wide array of exotic ivory, furs, and oils. The northern colonies made it clear that this was a diplomatic play, and that accepting one offer would exclude the other. So by taking Markland, we will make them a historical friend and get an alliance with them, which will give us negative trade power and give us yearly prestige. And with Helland, it will also give us negative trade power and cheaper ship cost. I do believe the yearly prestige is more valuable to me at the moment because it's quite negative. So I will side with Markland. And although my trade power abroad is not perfect, it is better to be friends than enemies. So with what we have, we are going to go in on Padawan for a variety of reasons. We out-mill them. We are up in entire mill tech. We have fantastic generals. And we desperately need whatever money they have. So, although it does hurt a lot, we have held, and I'm going to make the very expensive choice to build 1 more unit. We could take the essentially game-ending decision to summon the militia, which would cost us stability and a lot of other negatives. We're not going to do that, although it's good to know in the back pocket if we were in the middle of a death war that we could. But as painful as this is, the Padawan should be able to pay out more than it costs between their money and 15 ducats. Okay, it wasn't the most cost-effective use of life, but I don't really have an excuse, although I shouldn't have merged them. Alright, and just like that, the Padawan have fallen. We will take their money. We will steal a march. At first, it seemed possible to make common cause with them, and then came setback after setback after setback. It is the fate of empires to conquer. We will rename the land, lose 5 years of separatism in there. First, complete the mission, taming the land. So, that means that we now start producing grain in Elysia instead of nothing. And we can actually start trading. It will also enable the noble estate, and in a year time, we will start silk production will be resumed. We also completed the mission, expand our lands, which will give us 10 prestige, 50 admin, and 50 mill power, because we took it militarily. We also have the formation of the Barbary Councils. I see. So the real cost here is when I'm colonizing land, the Barbary Council state, because this is going to become its own estate, will gain some of it as land share. Now, we can deal with that, and this will keep them on board. It will reduce the native uprising chance at the cost of a slight settler chance decrease. Nothing about this seems impossible. It does also mean that they are exempt from Seas land, but there's a way around that with the Seas Council land, which is its own unique thing, because obviously the Barbary will get a fair amount of land. So I believe we will, or these sacred lands shall be theirs in perpetuity. And you can see they have foreign overlords, so by default they have less loyalty and less influence. and can't receive as many privileges, and ancestral land recognition, which gives them more loyalty, a little bit of influence, and less native uprising chance. And it means that our tribal development can actually start to be integrated. Now, the other important thing, just while we're doing this, we will of course empower the local councils as we do all other groups, and for the sake of keeping everybody content, we are given two different privileges that we can give the Barbary. We can either do Pax Romana, which I believe would just be the seizure of all the weapons, forbid Barbary tribal councils under our influence from waging wars internally and externally with other tribes. This would hurt their loyalty, but also massively diminish their influence and raise our actually max absolutism. Or the alternative is divide et impera, strategically manipulate tribes to grow in resentment for each other, directing their hatred towards each other rather than us. This will obviously make them more loyal, make them less influential. However, it will prohibit the amount of manpower we get from them, and but it will also reduce the amount of local unrest. I will start with divide et impera, and I believe Pax Romana is something you switch into later. As for the nobility, I can't give them anything just yet. We're still waiting for an event to fire for them. And here's the event. So this would give us some money, and in return, we would get 2 extra ducats a month and lose an admin-free policy, or we can tell them to suck it. Considering I'm actively bleeding money, I'm going to have to take the deal. And that should staunch the worst of the bleed. Considering we can actually not go bankrupt this month. However, it is still not a perfect position. It also means that for the Dante, I can now actually start giving out rights like a normal person. A couple things: we will give out the right of council, we will give out supremacy over the crown, just to keep everybody as happy as possible. And I believe that's where we will hold for the moment, although I will probably be pulling privileges away from everybody over the next period of time. The reason that everyone's influence is so high is the empowered estates. Everything will reduce by about 20%. Yes, fantastic. So we will revitalize the merchant class. This will get rid of the no merchant class debuff, which is, minus 75% global trade power. Quite a negative, and cost 100 diplo power. But in return, we will suddenly, please start making money. We're not making money. Well, we're making half a ducat, which means the trader's paying for himself. That's funny. We will also take the money off of that guy. Other things we're going to do, well, just stuff is running around in the background. Considering everybody's going to be very loyal because I've done a lot to ensure their loyalty, I will both bolster the colonial office and raise emergency tax. Now, this is a hefty amount of administrative burden to carry. However, we should, keyword should, be padded economically for the future. And if I really needed to, I could spend admin power and manpower to reduce administrative burden. Theoretically, we're looking at, it'll lose 1.2 a year. We get the benefit of also silk production being resumed. It has taken some years since we've arrived in this new land, but we've managed to breed sufficient moths to produce what we call Sorco silk. Is better than no silk at all. So instead of making wheat that's sold, or grain that's sold for $2.50, silk, poor quality silk, is sold for 4 ducats. And oh boy, we only managed to make like a few meters of Sakura silk each year, but it is worth so much more than simple grain. And this is why I invested so heavily into production. I say so heavily. I put like 2 pips into it. But when you can't develop, 2 pips is a lot. As for the Orthodox Celts take to the streets, there are essentially 3 ways to end any of these events. It's side with the clergy, it's side with the plethnists, or it's take a hit and nobody is happy, but it doesn't like piss anybody off. So every time I'm going to be taking that option because it's how you get the best outcome to the Elysian Religious Wars. Actually, I suppose I've never entered the Elysian Religious Wars because I just assumed it was bad. Um, I guess if you really wanted to go hard one way, you could, but I have no interest in going hard one way or the other. Oh, we have the Roman Renaissance just pop up, so we will get passive Renaissance spread in any provinces greater than 10 development. Uh, you could really say they're coming out as a real Renaissance, man. Okay, fantastic. And the second part of the UI has started to pop up. So here's a neat thing, just in case it comes up and I'm not explaining it. Tribal development in this province is currently being integrated into the larger Roman population. When the process is completed, the tribal development will no longer be able to emigrate from the province. So you can see that, this is the progress bar. We're at almost 8%, and it's very slowly increasing. It will take roughly 51 years, and it's modified very negatively because we have manpower shortages, there's a decent amount of tribal development there, and we don't get on well with the natives. If we were nicer to the natives, gave them some benefits, they would integrate quicker. Or if we were a more open society, it would integrate quicker. If we're a more closed society, obviously we won't integrate the tribal development nearly as quickly. Since I don't want to lose any development, I'm going to do my best to be, a relatively humanist. Now, you get other interesting things, such as the land that we conquered from the Padawan. You can see that it's not currently integrating. We do have a core, but it's not the correct religion, and it still has separatism. So, until it is officially yours, there's no way it can integrate. Sorry, not integrate, assimilate. Setting that aside, that's just a neat system that's going to be running under the hood while we're doing everything. There's also the silk trade. So this just gives us a silk production quarter, which will get us 10% local goods produced in Elysia for the rest of the game. And again, step by step, we start making a bit more actually recovering. We're also about to cap out on mill power, so I cannot develop, even if I wanted to. So don't hate the player, right? We can't develop until the Renaissance spreads properly. So I do have to just blow it all. Otherwise, I would just be wasting it. Since we have the opportunity, I am going to jump down on the nation of Piscataway just because I think we can take it and they won't put up much of a fight. Now, of course, this will cost a bit of administrative burden, but that's a price I'm willing to pay. Of course, declaring the war will cost some. I don't know if it specifies how much, but declaring a war will cost some, and the overextension will cost some. But between the two, we will be stronger for it and get a hostile nation off our borders. Oh, and there's the death of the Plethon. We will not be organizing a state funeral, as that would only antagonize the Plethonists, and we don't need to reduce the cost that much. We could let the Plethonists organize their own private celebration, which will cause a minor revolt in the Alexandria, but that would be okay. Or we could let the clergy condemn him, which wouldn't be great, but wouldn't be terrible. But, okay, this might put our warpath plans on the end. We will let the Plethonists have their own private funeral. Of course, we're also going to lose the admin power that he was granting us, which is a shame. Oh, for the lack of... You know what? Yeah, I am going to organize a state funeral. Just for the fact that the manpower from the revolt is more valuable than the money and the administrative burden. Yes, so we will have a state funeral for the man. Not perfect, but not terrible. And we will make the Piscatawayans pay for it. Ooh, wow. Yeah, that 4 mil tech gap sure does hit, huh? Alright, and just like that, Piscataway has fallen. We will, of course, take all of their money, only 15 ducats. But just like that, the land is named as Platos. And now we have the opportunity to reform the military. We can either enlist local barbarity, which would give us more natural manpower, more recovery speed, less mercenary cost, and more mercenary army tradition modifier. At the cost of, well, either way, we pay the cost of reforming the army for a year, which will give us negative discipline, worse reinforced speed, and make the army slightly more expensive. Or we can integrate the militia into the army, which will hurt our production efficiency, but give us morale of armies, yearly army tradition, prestige from the battle, and a better cavalry to infantry ratio. We are so desperate for manpower, I think I will just enlist the local barbary warriors, as we just need more men. It would be nice if we had more Greek men, but we'll just take what we got. Because we do have a negative 70% modifier that we have to fight back against. Speaking of that negative 70% modifier, we will also be strengthening the noble privileges for our government reform, as even though that does give the nobles an insane amount of influence. Okay, they will not coup me because they are too loyal. But yes, I am giving the nobility an insane amount of control. However, I need them on board for the moment anyway. And if they are incredibly happy, I forgot about this. Yes, if I get them over 60%, they contribute to taking down the administrative burden. So I actually need to get everybody nice and happy. We have just been given the opportunity for Varangian warriors, which we could pay like 50 cents or half a ducat a month for better local defensiveness and better local garrison size. And they would act as a mercenary company. We could say no, but let them come back in 5 years. Or we could say no and tell them to piss off. I will let them come back in 5 years and look at where my money is. Because normally, financially, I'm not doing as well as I am. So as you can see, though, with some careful planning, you can very much manage the administrative burden. Like we're currently dropping it by 0.26 a month, which will take care of 50%. How fast? 17 years, which with a little bit of monitoring, we can get that to go even faster. Oh shit, I'm overfilling on admin balls. Okay, well, let us take the next admin tech. That could have been faster. And we've also just found the Elysian Mountains. What I believe in what it goes through here is the Appalachians, right? All the way from like friggin' Pennsylvania all the way down to like, I don't know where they run out. I just know that West Virginia sits directly on them. We get the decision to begin the construction of the Appalachian Paths, which is not horrifically expensive, and it just costs admin and diplo power, and it will let us start carving walkways through the mountains. Oh, and actually we can now start to build things because, yes, we actually have a church. Holy jeez. Now, the problem is building anything at all costs, you guessed it, administrative burden, so I really don't want to, and everything takes so long. We also can now start to seize land because empowered estates is worn off. I, however, will instead choose to seize land from the Barbary Council. You can see the Barbary Council is treated differently than the 3 traditional states. And if I seize land from them, it doesn't impact the other states, so I can kind of use their land as a piggy bank. You know, so we went through all the effort to treat them nicely and make certain concessions just to manipulate them. But we would never do that. We're good people. We're the Romans. And now that we have seized land from the Barbary, once we can, we will re-empower the estates, just so that we're not so deep in negatives. Now, oh yes, there's also the other thing of the radical sympathizers, which we get from respecting the Barbary councils, where if we are at war with a native or reformed native government type for too long, it will trigger the disaster, which will give us a massive morale of armies hit, manpower recovery speed hit, and make all of our mercenaries much more expensive. It's to symbolize, like, why are you fighting the natives? You're, not holding up your end of the bargain. So we do have to make sure all of our wars are very, very quick. Wow, there's a lot going on with the Plethnis, but first, before we deal with all this, we will also begin constructing the Appalachian paths, which will give us an entire different event to read through. The Appalachian Paths construction begins. Our workers and native allies have begun to work on the pathway through the Appalachian Mountains and seem content for now. According to our engineers, if we don't experience any major setbacks, each path will take approximately 2 years to finish. And just like that, we have carved through the first piece of Platos, which gets Appalachian Pathway, which makes it better for trade, things move faster, cheaper development cost, and they all get this kind of modifier, and you can see it on the trade map mode there. And I believe that happens for the entire Appalachia area. Oh, the other thing that this mod added that is very neat is you can see there are things called favorable trade locations on the trade map mode. And if you build these up, such as having at least 6 base production and 15 total production, as well as a marketplace or better, it will become a level 1 center of trade. And then you can upgrade it. So it's a nice way of showing you that you're really developing the land. Like, you can do one up in Helluland if you really wanted to, although there's not much in Labrador besides the opportunity to leave. Okay, so the Plethnists are demanding representation, and we have the opportunity to obviously antagonize the Christians, antagonize the Plethnists, or, the normal option. But because our ruler is righteous, kind-hearted, charismatic, or silver-tongued, which is it? He is righteous, we can get reduced negatives. Specifically, antagonize the clergy a little half the cost of all power costs, and decrease to the problem. And that is worthwhile because our nobles are too powerful as it is, and I really can't give them that much more. On top of completing the Burger's mission, we have completed our new home, where Anthony has been colonized, which by proxy gives us Secure the Bay. It would give us 50 admin power, 2 base production in Eros, which is the... it spans between the south of the Delaware Peninsula. I think this is called the Delaware Peninsula, and I know that this is Virginia. But, that piece right there gets... And it will also rename a bunch of stuff, and we can complete a True Nation 5 years earlier. Now, theoretically, we can complete a True Nation as early as 1490, if I'm understanding this right. Yes, I would just need to complete Appalachian Aqueducts, which isn't that far off. Build more buildings in the capital. Double in size, and build forts all over the place. Easy. I think. Theoretically, to complete this, I would need to build a fort here, and either in Roanoke or on that province. I can't see. But, yeah, we have our work cut out for us that, because the forts alone, if we need to build 3 forts, are 600 ducats, plus 200 ducats for the aqueducts, plus 900 ducats for the buildings. We're almost looking at 2,000 ducats in 30 years. It's very possible. It's just a little tricky. And while maintaining good administrative burden. Well, we are making 5 ducats a month, which is... Holy shit. Good money. What suddenly started printing money? I don't know what started making the money, but I'm going to take advantage of it. So let's start building proper trade things and strangle out all of the trade we can from the capital. And really start swimming in it. We will go in on the Lenape people for gold glory and all that's good. I will also, just because we are actually making money, I will take the Bringians up on their offer. and hopefully they will end up being a boon in the long run. Yes, they have bonus morale, are slower to reinforce, are very cheap. Yeah, they will be good. In fact, while we are sitting, I suppose I can drill. Although I think our drilling is fairly slow to grow. Or is it professionalism that's slow to grow? Oh, yes. Fantastic. So we now have the Albanian question, where we can either put them put them in Menthai near the capital, where it would cause some upsetness, but that's a little too close. We could send them to the frontier, which would be to let them colonize up northwards, or we could let them settle a partially independent kingdom. They won't be able to colonize until we create a complete a true nation, which I don't think is worth it to me. Or I could send them and just kick them out south. I think I will settle them on the native frontier, because they take land in my name, and even though they are, very independent, more land in my name is a good thing. Oh, wonderful. So for this one, either we could actually, pay money and lose admin power, or I could just blame the Barbary. So, we're going to just blame the Barbary. Did they do anything wrong? The Barbarii, the barbarians, the indigenous. And for Parabellum, I will not, well, I won't need to take the province, I will need to control the province, as you can see. On that note, I think I'm going to keep pushing south, because when people come over, they will come southwards. I believe by lying to the Portuguese, we've bought ourselves an extra 50 years, but the Europeans are still coming. The other thing is eventually the Norse, or the Varangian colonies, will sort themselves out. Are they Norse? Yes, they are Norse. And there will be a war in heaven between the two, which is something to be aware of. Well, we will build the Appalachian aqueducts. So this will, of course, cost 200 ducats, cost 50 admin, cost 60 mil. Quite expensive. However, it will make all of those provinces that are listed there easier to settle. Some of them we've already settled. And it will give us colonial boom, which will give us 10% settler chance and 20 global settler increase for 25 years. Yeah, our entire surplus, we are making 290 a month, is thanks to the trade coming. We are strangling or consuming everything that actually gets leaked down to us, which is what you do, but slightly concerning that if trade was turned off for a second. I mean, if I look at my economy, is it just because Elysia is so valuable that it's our actual outer provinces, due to how autonomous they are, not worth that much. And just like that, we have a crisis averted, and we are given the opportunity to say that we follow the gods, of course, or God, of course. And seeing as the clergy is way too powerful due to concessions I've made to them, and also we're here for the good LARP, I am going to choose to be Hellenic. And don't worry, this will come with its own bout of issues. But, just like that, Hellenism is back on the map, baby. For many reasons, we are going to open with Zeus, because we need that monthly autonomy change desperately. And hopefully that does weaken the clergy off the bat. We'll go oversight by the clergy, expansion of cemetery. We will go with the enforced unity of faith. My clergy is going to be very loyal, so there's no need for me to give them. There's no need for them to have clerical inward focus again, but let it be known that it was considered. And we have the opportunity in time to establish a high priesthood. That is just because, we do not have a defined faith. So to establish high priesthood, it would give us more missionary strength and cheaper missionary costs, and let us reform the faith. Instead, we are a stranded religion. Oh, sorry, we are no longer a stranded religion. However, we cannot convert over the Orthodox lands at all. You have religious zeal on the provinces, and essentially it's a deal that you do not convert them. You know, resistance, conversion, religious tolerance. We just mutually agree that we existed and there's no need to convert them over. As a Hellenist as well, I believe we are considered. Yes, we are only considered a heretic to the Totemists. Yes, we are only a heretic to the Totemists, not a heathen. Which is, I'm not sure if that's useful, but we are also only a heathen to the Norse, so we can do marriages in between one another. Oh, and fantastic, we can now get Admin Tech 5, which will let us get our first idea group. And as we get to our first idea group, you will notice, which they're missing, we only have access to development ideas. Development ideas, which will give us eventually a colonist, a 20% global settler increase, cheaper construction cost and dev cost, yearly inflation rate reduction, and yearly corruption reduction, embargo efficiency plus 30%, naval combat bonus off spawn, owned coast plus 1, settler chance plus 5%, and colonies on Elysium start with 200 settlers, and eventually institution bracement cost minus 10% and institution spread plus 10%, as well as 150 gov cap. However, once you complete development ideas, you can swap it out to expansion. I believe it is, but you need to complete it for the opportunity to do so. And we go in on Tuscarora, absolutely decimate him, and we just siege out the land. Fantastic. And the Albanians have colonized as they please, which is one of the favorite things about them. They do take land for you. They have moved south into, what do I call this? Is that Jersey? You know what? There's something fitting about the Albanians being in New Jersey. And I do try to leave land open for them to expand to. I think they can push up to 4 tiles. So like, for example, I will go into Manhattan, but not, just not to cut them off. Anyway, we will take the province and all of the money, and of course integrate it, and give it autonomy so it doesn't rebel. And we can see we're now certainly into the Carolinas. What, Virginia's like here. This is North Carolina, and South Carolina's right here. We're somewhere in the Carolinas. Can't believe that we just friggin' stole some Varangians. Although they do give a lot of local defensiveness. It's nice to have. Fantastic. And just like that, we have built up to a 10,000 large military and established the militia. So this is just going to give us a basic realm of armies boost and make our armies a bit cheaper. More importantly, it opens a path for Roman diplomacy mission and Parabellum. And the War of the North has fired off, which means that Markend and Helluland are fighting, or technically, they don't. It's a very oddly scripted war. It's done through events, as I understand it, and I don't totally get how it plays out. But as you can see, Markland is making an invasion, and they have seized some land, and I believe, yeah. Wow, a real 1-2 punch there. Markland has won the war in the north, and by proxy formed Vinland. It seems that the Northerners have pressed their so-called ancient right to call their nation Vinland, their name for the continent, and are now claiming the round surrounding them as their own. Our trade deal gets worse. It ruins my trade power by minus 20%. However, I do get the bonus of also having the ship cost reduction. You can all see their claims basically cover what would be modern day Canada borders, perhaps it's a little bit more aggressive into New England. Pound for pound, they are stronger than me at the moment, and they can be a very real threat if I don't respect them. We also have the choice that I can break off the trade deal, it would ruin our relations and ruin my trade efficiency just for 10 years, or I could continue the existing deal. I will. Do I get to keep the option to break the trade deal? Yes, I do. So if I stop being allied with Finland, I can break the trade deal. It is certainly not ideal at the moment, but at some point I will have to stab the Vikings in the back. The expedition of Belisarius Pelagios. This is a general or a young noble of the imperial house requesting to go on an expedition into Mexico to do things. We will ask him to be patient and to ask again in a year. Ah, yes, and he is back again. I will send him off to go meet the Aztecs with my blessing and nothing else, and I'm sure that he will have little consequence and nothing will ever come out of the Mexican region. And they have landed on the peninsula there, and oh boy. Yep, so Sparta does get formed, or Spartacon gets formed, and they go on a warpath. And at this rate, will probably form a kind of duality between Hellenism and the Aztec gods, which I'm sure will be a very peaceful, peace-loving religion. Anyway, we, with the colonization of Tethys, have finished Roman diplomacy, which will let me recruit mercenary companies, restores the humiliate rival casus belli, gives me a cheaper diplomat, and a true nation can be completed 5 years earlier as well. And that leaves us with true nation. The only way to speed it up is either to finish the infrastructure projects or Parabellum, and 15 years to do so. I have to remember that forts take about 2 years to build, if I remember correctly. 31 months, so a little bit more actually, because of the Ministry of Virgin, of course. So with that in mind, I probably want to... Well, I have all the provinces I need ready to lay down the forts. And which direction would be best for colonization? I want to go up this way so I can cut off Vinland. So let us go and colonize Manhattan, and then I'll worry about getting further down into things like Georgia. Yeah, because we're in South Carolina here, and then this becomes Georgia. If my very rough understanding of American states hurts you, forgive me. I'm not American. I'm Canadian. I don't have to know where they all are. I'm Canadian. As if the friggin' channel logo with the RAF roundel with the Canadian maple leaf in the middle of it didn't cue you in. The little dude logo. The little brown dog 2, if you will. Now, at the absolute tiniest chance of straddling the crown with debt, which has never happened in Roman history before, I might do something a little drastic. Once Empowered Estates wears off, which it will in 3 years, I will probably do a sale of titles and then seize land. Then take out some loans and use that all to build up my build up the core region and the forts required. Actually, on that note, fantastic. We have just finished the infrastructure projects. So obviously, we get to change all of the trade goods in all the provinces, as well. Eros gets swamp reclamation until the end of the game, which makes its development cost cheaper. Romania gets infrastructure projects until we complete a True Nation mission, which will expand infrastructure costs minus 200%. We get the opportunity to build the Grand Corinth in the future, and obviously True Nation can be completed 5 years sooner, which gives us 15 years to build 3 forts, which is very doable. Lastly, for the Grand Corinth, it just means that we can enable the ability to... Theoretically, it would cost... here it is. It is treated as a great project. Don't worry, this is not the last one that we will see along the Chesapeake Bay, the Elysian Bay. It would give us trade power, sailor increase, trade range, and as upgraded, could give us some very powerful things like +1 merchant, +50% trade range, +10% trade ship trade power, and just make we do get broken if we are given the opportunity to. That is what you will find with Elysia. Yes, I knew that this would be a problem. Fantastic. Growing Varangian influence. As such, it enables the ability to grant them autonomy. So, if we had one of these provinces, we could concede it to the Varangian order and basically sequester them there. Yes, Varangians will establish a semi-autonomous sub-state within one of our provinces on the North Elysian coast. After they have been our subject for 20 years and have reached Abintech 10, we will be able to negotiate tighter bonds again. Yes, and this is why the Varangians cause troubles, because they are currently devastating the capital. That devastation is quite expensive, especially because the capital is like where literally all of our money is coming from at the moment. That silk is the profits of the nation. I might be better off if I send the Varangians specifically to Paraquat then, because there's nothing of value there. No offense, guys, you're just not on a trade location. Oh boy, and we've also found the Atlantic Island. With our new policies to encourage exploration of the world, some of our explorers reported spotting a small island in the Atlantic in the seemingly futile quest eastwards. This has certainly encouraged our explorers to continue exploring even further east, to no avail at this time, so they suggest investigating the possibility of a forward outpost there to increase the range of our vessels. The shipwrecked survivors. One of our ship captains came into contact with a familiar-looking people on an island in the Atlantic. From the stories he gathered from these people, it would seem they used to be part of a great expedition. They were stranded after a strong storm. Needless to say, everyone in Romania knows the stories of our past and do spread quickly that the lost were found a glorious day for our people. Prepare a ship, I wish to meet them. The people of Buda. We can either tell them to screw off, or for 50 admin and 50 double power, we will let them be and guarantee they have their own religion and gain them as a vassal. It is thus agreed that the rulers of Kruda may keep the title of Megas Bush for as long as they serve the imperial throne loyally. In exchange, the people there shall be granted citizenship within the empire and thus may be allowed to practice their religion in peace. And just like that, Bermuda is brought under the throne. We will also go to war against the two tribes. We will first swing north against the Mashani people and then south against the Pequot people. Alright, and just like that, Pequot has fallen too. So, against the Mahichan, we will take their land. Against the Pequot, we will also take their land once we have a diplomat and send them on their way. We will also grant autonomy to the Varangian Order, which will briefly antagonize some people, but we will settle them in Senethri, and they will act as a Philosoria. Fascinating. Yeah, I wonder if this guy has the rest of the maps of Vinland. Let's share maps of Vinland. Hell yeah. Yeah, my goal is to cut Vinland off in the Maritimes of Canada, because if he starts to expand out into, like what would be traditional Canadian land or more core Canadian land, that will be a massive issue. As well, I would like to get as far south and into the Caribbean as possible too, as closing that door to the Europeans is very important to me. I basically want to bottle this all up, and then on top of that, I want to get as west as fast as possible. Oh my. To lock down, California and whatnot. Sea silk. Oceanic explorers and adventurous pearl divers have found clams on the shores and lagoons to the south, deep in the Cycladian Isles and the shores of Anarthenos, that are suitable for the production of so-called sea silk, higher quality than our citrus silk, and is more befitting royalty. And I suppose that means that we have to go south for imperial silk? Yes. So we will have to probably set up a colony in Cuba or the Bahamas or Florida of some sort. I wonder what the Varangians get up to, if they have any shenanigans. Oh, unfortunate. The Varangian influence is still present, even though I set them up away from the capital. Okay, I thought that would cut down on it. That's really unfortunate. Why am I bleeding 4 ducats a month? We're making so much money. Where did it all go? Either way. Oh, that's why. That's what happened. The forts have finished being built. That's where all the money went. And with that, Parabellum. And this means that up to 5 existing forts or future forts in the Elysian Outer Defenses Province group gets the Parabellum modifier. So all of the forts we just built get the modifier. Local fort maintenance minus 50%, local garrison size plus 50%, reduced monthly devastation, reduced hostile movement speed. You cannot scorch earth those provinces. We also get a permanent claim to the north and south Elysian coast, and we get the event the Hippodrome of Nea Constantinopolis, and a true nation can be completed in 3 years. The Hippodrome of Nea Constantinopolis. The Grand Hippodrome of Constantinopolis. So for 600 ducats and 5 years, we could build the Hippodrome. We won't be doing that right away, but when we have the money, coming out of our ears. Fantastic, that colony finished, so I can send my colonists back north. I'll just send a single unit with them to help maintain. Yeah. And we can start going against the groups in the south. Because what are their tech? They are on Miltech 4, but we're on Miltech 6, which is a major breaking point. We also can take planned metropoles, which will not do much. It will give us construction and dev cost reduction, which is actually huge, and also get us the never again falter in our ideas. In fact, have I ever looked at my ideas? I should have looked at my ideas. We have never again falter, which is fort defense, philosophic traditions, which is possible advisor plus 1 idea cost minus 5%. Inspired recruits, which is morale of armies plus 10%, recover army morale speed plus 5%. Legacy of the flight, which is plus 1 colonist. Naval leader maneuver. Embassies, which is plus 1 diplomat and minus 50% envoy travel time. Defend our newfound wealth, which is plus 1 merchant and plus 10% heavy ship combat ability. And reworked Codex Justinianus, which is minus 2 national unrest. We start with minus 20% naval maintenance modifier, and we automatically discover land adjacent when a colony is built. And when we take all of our ideas, we will gain 5% admin efficiency. And it is also very much worth it for us to rush towards colonial administration so that we can colonize faster. I believe we do have claims on you. Yes, we do. I'm going to be kind of cheesy and throw down a save because I don't trust myself. And if I make a mistake, you're never going to see it. They do outnumber us. And let's see if that helps them. Oh, and fantastic. As the 22nd of January rolls by, a true nation. Our nation is now well enough developed to be considered a true nation. We are no longer mere settlers in a foreign land. We have made this land ours and populated it far and wide. The natives still see us as newcomers, but have grown accustomed enough to deal with us like equals. May Rome long prosper. We gain base renaissance spread through our realm. We enact the senatorial empire tier 1. We put senate seats in the entire of our core lands, and we replace manpower shortage with settler heritage, which, as you can see, is just a bunch of buffs. The penalties will further be lowered when we pass a new age. Fantastic. And the Crete question pops in 10 days. So we will go through that. The Coding question. We can either annex them directly, or we can let them be and essentially have them colonize for us. And I can either subsidize their colonization or restrict their colonization. And I think I will let them retain their independence. And maybe one day I will integrate them, but not today. Can I afford giving them 2 ducats a month? I can, so I will, because I need them to colonize for me, and technically that's cheaper than me colonizing 2 provinces. The Spartans have created, if you want to read this, you can. My throat is shot from all the speaking. But essentially there's no more Spartans, and they have created a caste system where pure Spartan invaders are the nobility on top, and there is the slave caste, as Spartans, are wont to do. Oh, good, and the Albanians have expanded again for me. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I love you, Albanians. You might want to rebel and kill me, but just know I love you. Yeah, when we actually do catch the native armies, we crush them. It's just a matter of getting our hands on them. So, from the enemies down here, I'm going to take Cha as a vassal, as well as the Cherokee as a vassal. I don't believe that they will like this, but what that will let me do is go to my Dynatoy and institute strong duchies. And they should, yeah, they will be made compliant. If I just give them, I can't dev because they don't have the Renaissance, but they more or less will be compliant, and it will let me get more control down here. I will keep this province for myself and use it to expand further south in a moment. But I'm going to use them. I will also desperately need to start improving relations with them so they can't get people to support their independence. Now, the next step, once we finish our great northern barrier against the Vinlanders, I will be putting a little colony. Well, I guess I could colonize over here myself, couldn't I? I could just drop a colony there, use it to get the vision, and go on a little bit of a warpath. If I need to, I can feed it away to my vassals, right? It wouldn't be perfect, but it'd be perfectly comfortable. But I am getting ahead of myself, because this is where we are going to pump the brakes. We have just become a true nation. After fleeing Constantinople, we have thrown ourselves at the eastern seaboard of the New World, of our Elysium, and have basically fortified our position slightly and stopped ourselves from starving. If you want to put it in a slightly more romantic lens, we've brought enlightenment to the Barbary, and have actually done quite well for ourselves. We have so much more of a wonderful mission tree to look forward to. And on top of that, 3 paths that we can really think about. We have the Viking threat to our north, who, yes, we're allied to, but don't get me wrong, that's a really annoying word that I keep worrying about. And the upstart Spartan kingdom to the south, currently carving their way or being carved through by the Aztecs, as well as our little Cretan and soon-to-be Caribbean vassal state, as well as our newfound friends in the yeah, that's got to be Georgia. I think that's where Georgia is. Like it's because it has the border, the straight border there. There's the Floridian Panhandle. Maybe it's a little bit of South Carolina, but mostly Georgia. And our little Ringian friends that are in. Is this Rhode Island? One of these is Rhode Island. Rhode Island is such a tiny state. Screw you, Rhode Island. But yeah, so if you like seeing EU4 Third Odyssey, throw me down a comment below. I can tell you for certain there's going to be another episode of this because this is my favorite mod for EU4. There are many fantastic mods for EU4, but this is my favorite. And if you have a path that you want to see, well, let me tell you what they do. There is the America path, the go back and reform the Roman Empire path, and the go and be the British Empire path. None of these are exclusive. You can complete one and then go and do another one, and then if you complete 2, you can go and do the third. But which one would you like to see first if you had a choice? I myself, I'm partial to a certain one, but I can't put my hand on the scale. That would be undemocratic. And if there's anything else you want to see, throw it in the comments below. Let me know. Say something. If you want to call me something rude, call me something rude. At least it is engagement. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube pleasantries. You know what it is. I'm going to go drink a hot tea with some lemon in it because my throat is numb from how much reading I've done. If I've managed to cut this down to a reasonable time, thank you for your patience. If not, this is probably 2 hours long, and God help me. This is Brown Dog 2, signing off.